Hello everyone, I am Tessellating Hexagons, and 2 days ago we finally got to hear one of the longest teased songs of this year's Eurovision season, which comes to us from Austria, who have been teasing us for quite some time with the knowledge of who's going to represent them and what their song's going to be called, but it took them until literally the 9th of March to finally let us hear the song. The song, of course, being Cesár Sampson and Nobody But You, presented in English, music and lyrics by Boris Milanov, Sebastian Arman, Joachim Persson, and Johan Alcanes. And you may or may not recognise Cesár himself because he was a backing singer for Bulgaria for the past 2 years, so he has hands-on first-hand experience of coming second and fourth, so maybe we should be worried about Austria doing well? And I mean worried in a good way, I could have worded that better. Well, let's take a look first of all, as always, at my first impressions of this song. Well, to be brutally, very sincerely honest, I expected better. I don't know exactly what I expected to be better, but this didn't meet the expectations that I'd set for myself, which I know is an inevitable way of disappointing yourself because you could expect solid gold from any country, and if it's anything less than that, then you'll be disappointed, so I know I'm being hugely selfish here, I recognise that. It's not a bad song, so I'll try to unpack my thought process a little. Given that Austria has sent some quality stuff in recent years, and their singer this year is someone who's come 4th and 2nd at Eurovision before, literally in the 2 most recent contests before this, one would anticipate a song that you'd listen to and think, wow, yes, this is on that level, this is going to do that again. But much like the UK, who's in a similar position with an artist who's placed very highly in previous editions at least twice, the song is just okay. Musically, I'm reminded of Don't Come Easy from Australia last year, crossed with Hosier's Take Me to Church, but with a pop chorus, and a tiny bit of Queen in there as well, and I'm not talking about the, choiral backing vocals, I'm referring to something else when I say that. And honestly, I'm not a huge fan of Queen, but enough about me. Let's take a look at what you might like about this song before I go too far off the deep end and alienate even more of my viewers. Well, one thing I absolutely will give this song credit for is that it does the same thing that Croatia does, but in an unequivocally good way. That is, it sets up a certain expectation for itself with the title, but then subverts that in a positive sort of way. Whereas Croatia leads you to expect a high-energy song where there isn't one, this title sets you up to expect a moody, sad, piano ballad kind of thing, and instead we get the rug swept out from underneath us with this charming little number that has a decent amount of oomph to it. It does help, though, admittedly, that it's performed by a charismatic and competent performer who knows how to handle himself on the Eurovision stage. We've got quite a few of those this year, and he's capable of hitting all the right notes, which I would argue is even harder for backing singers to do because there's so much less room for error when they perform in that role. Obviously, Cesár is now the lead artist, so that pressure is off in exchange for the pressure of hit the right notes, otherwise people won't like the song. And I think he will hit the right notes because he's capable. I also want to compliment the overall mood of the song. Everything about it feeds back into the general feeling that this one presents, no matter where you turn, be it to Cesár's voice, or to the lyrics, or the key, or the instrumentation, or the visuals in the music video. They all come back to the same harmonised bouquet of feelings, and that all comes together to make the song feel like a well-composed, cogent piece of music. And speaking of the visuals as well, that's something else that I want to address separately. The music video contains some very interesting and very creative visual effects and aesthetics, you know, morphing his face with, statues and graffiti and the after images of him, and, there's some really clever cinematography there. And all of that indicates really good things for the imagery the creative team has in mind for this song. It all says to me that the staging is going to be very unique, very of interest to look at. I expect clever camera work, possibly effects applied to the colours. It could be in black and white, there could be some extra stuff going on, but it's going to have restrained, not excessive choreography, I think, and that's exactly what it would take to really make this song pop. I think visually this is going to impress. Maybe I should know better than to get my hopes up twice for this song, but I do find myself still expecting great things from Austria this year. Maybe you could turn my opinion around. I think if anyone could, I think it would be Cesár, so yeah, you're in a good position so far. Still, great expectations aside, there is still the pressing matter of what you might not like about this song, and I will start with an admittedly very me kind of thing. There's something in the refrain, the 2 notes after when he says, "Ain't nobody but you." Du-du. Like for half a second, the chord progression and the general musicality really sounds like it's ending. Like, it's an ending of some kind. Like, it sounds like either the refrain is about to just come to an abrupt end and it's just gonna stop, or there's gonna be a weird pause or something, and just, no, the song just carries on like nothing happened. And that's the part that reminds me of Queen's music. Nothing else in the song, literally just that bit. In isolation, I kind of find it irritating, and then the association with Queen sort of makes it worse, but that is just me being me. Because I just find a lot of Queen's music to be annoying, and I know people can't relate to that, so people are going to hate me for saying that, but that's just how my opinion be. Moving on. I feel as though the refrain as a whole is a fair bit weaker than the rest of the song, in some way that I can't put into words though. Like, the dark, serious tone of the verses feel like they're building up to something really big, like something of equal flavour but greater impact, and then the refrain happens and it's only okay. Like, it sounds like it was either written long after or long before the rest of the song, and it was just sort of worked in. And so something about it doesn't feel like it quite fits, but that's just me. Like I said, I can't really put my issue with it into words, so it's probably nothing. It's probably just me going a bit crazy. And one other point, this doesn't bother me at all, but some people might be put off by the fact that it reminds them of Australia's song last year for one reason or another. Either they won't like being reminded of another song, or they might just not like Australia's song last year and they're like, oh god, this reminds me of that, and oh, I didn't like that, so I won't like this. Associations can be a strange thing. It could remind them of a different song as well. You know, some people will think, oh, this reminds me of song X vaguely, therefore it must be plagiarism. And such people are an embarrassment to the Eurovision fandom, to be quite frank. Some people just might not enjoy that their immediate reaction to this song is to think of another song instead, and that is much more fair enough. You do you. If it reminds you of another song, then I guess that's just how your brain works, which is fine. Ratings out of 10 now, and this is something that I know I've said in the very, very recent past. I give this one a 6, and that saddens me, because I want to like this one more. Like, the song is fine, it's just my own reaction to it that disappoints me here. I think part of the issue is that the most basic part of my brain refuses to move on from the almost arbitrary association that's built up between literally 2 notes of the refrain and nothing more, and Queen. And another part of it is probably my having set up false expectations for myself by myself with this one, so it's entirely my fault. And, you know, it's my own fault for assuming that this would be on the same level as what Bulgaria have been sending in recent years, so I've set myself up to believe that anything less than something as mind-blowing as that would inevitably seem like a disappointment. Either way, I recognise it's entirely my fault, so if I want to make myself like this song more, it's entirely on me to make that change. So yeah, I've only got myself to blame that I'm not as engaged as I could be here. And to prove that, I would say that this gets a technical score of 8. It is certainly not an awful song, far from it. We've got another instance of an experienced, charismatic performer singing a unique sounding song with a unique visual style, which subverts expectations in a postmodern way without that postmodernism being the central gimmick of the performance, and it sounds right at home within the current Eurovision soundscape. On paper, this is a good, competent song. It's just missing that little extra something that would otherwise convince me that this is going to definitely be the next big thing. But that might just be me, but then again, if it doesn't make that connection with me, then maybe there is something missing. I don't know, being a reviewer is hard. Still though, is it a step up from last year? Not really. Rather, it's the same approach, beat for beat, as last year. ORF approaches a local known talent with the offer of participating in Eurovision. They reach an agreement, they write a song, and then they put as much effort and budget as they can into composing, promoting, and generally hyping up the song. So it's yet another case of a country already being in very much the right position, knowing that, and then just sort of staying in that position. It's not a step up, but crucially, it's not a step down. They're still going strong, and that's fine by me. They've asked someone who they know can perform well, arguably someone who they reckon can perform better than Nathan Trent, simply because this guy has come second and fourth with the Bulgarian team before. So in theory, they're in a really good spot. But it is the same method as last year, so I can't compliment them on any changes they've made because they haven't really made changes, if that makes any sense. Now, will Austria qualify? That's the tricky part, isn't it? I think the juries will enjoy this one an adequate, perhaps even surprising amount, and the public, I feel like it might be a bit more hit and miss with them. Some people will enjoy it enough to vote for it, certainly, but some people will be on the fence, and then they might get distracted by other songs that leave a bigger impression. So when it comes to the end of the semi-final, I think this might make it into the final, but it's just as plausible to imagine that it might not. That being the case, I think having that creativity in the stage direction that I hypothesized about before, if they do something equally clever, bearing in mind I don't think there are going to be LED backgrounds this year, so they're going to need to be clever in a different way. I think if that's clever enough, that will make all the difference. If they have clever cinematography and a stage presence a cut above everyone else, then it will seal the deal, it will stand out, and it will put Austria into the final. But if it comes across as just another song, then it may get shouted down by some of its competition. We will have to see what happens. For now though, I have been, and will continue to be, Tessellating Hexagons, and to Cesar and the entire Austrian team, I wish you the very best of luck, and I can't wait to see what you come up with for your performance in May. See you then.